Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining. I'm just going to give it another 30 seconds. I'll let everybody get set up with their audio. Sit tight. This is going to be a good one. I'm interested in getting everybody's feedback on the security blueprint. You know, it's been in the works for a little while. I know maybe some people on the webinar, if I called you, we've already talked about some of this stuff, but I'm hoping that a lot of the content's new and useful. So again, sit tight for 20 seconds. I'll kick off in very shortly. Hey, if you're just joining, I'm going to give it maybe 10 more seconds. Just I see a bunch of people coming in, and then we're going to kick this thing off. Okay, let's get started and jump in. Hey everybody, Ali Mahmood here, VP of Product with Augmentt Technologies, and today we're talking about a blueprint for Microsoft 365 security. If you've been on an Augmentt webinar before, you've probably seen me talk about some of this content, but I got a lot of new stuff today, and you know, all of this is a work in progress. I always say I talk to a lot of MSPs on a daily basis. I love the feedback we get on webinars. We're doing more polls, which I think are giving us really good insights into what's the most important thing for MSPs today. And so today, what I want to jump through is, you know, the core topic of the webinar is that Microsoft 365 security blueprint. I want to start things off just talking about what I'm hearing when I talk to MSP business owners about what problem they're trying to solve. I think that's a really interesting perspective. I'm going to do a quick poll on that one. I want to see in the audience today, you know, what are people thinking when it comes to Microsoft security? Then we're going to go through the entire blueprint top to bottom. And after that, I want to talk to you about a bit of a security boot camp that we're starting up. And today's session, the blueprint for security, is really session one of this security bootcamp series. So I'll be curious to see who wants to kind of jump in to the next topics and go a little bit deeper. So kicking things off, there's essentially three things that I'm seeing when I talk to MSP business owners. And it's interesting because it aligns very closely with how, you know, I think about business and how I see, you know, the tech companies, the software vendors that I've worked at. Pretty much every single company has these kind of same three questions, and I see MSPs asking the same three questions when it comes to their business and when it comes to their clients' Microsoft security. So it essentially boils down to, am I trying to land new clients? Is this a acquire brand new revenue from brand new people problem? Or am I trying to expand existing accounts? So I have a book of business, I have contracts with my existing clients, and if I could just go back to them and get everybody from the bronze tier to the gold tier, that's the number one initiative. Or am I trying to retain clients? And so I'm going to throw up a poll in 2 seconds, but have a think about that. What is your top driver when you think Microsoft security? Is it all just, I need to include this because I kind of already sort of promised it to a bunch of clients? Or, you know, have I been doing a good job and I'm charging the right amount to existing customers? I just need to go out there and acquire a ton of new clients. So I'll launch that poll. Go ahead, let me know your thoughts. Again, just pick your number one. What's the most important thing to you? And I'm asking this today because on a recent webinar, we had a bit of a mixed audience, and I think there was a lot of technical people in the audience who were more on the retention side. And so I think today we're getting a little bit more of the business owner audience. And so I definitely wanted to ask the question again. So I'm seeing a bunch of votes come in. It looks like expand number one, land number two. I'll end the poll and, you know, I'll give it another 10 seconds and then I'll share the results with everybody. Oh, now, yeah, there we go. I had to say something. Now it's kind of balancing out. Okay, Go ahead, get your vote in. I'm about to close the poll, and then I'll share those results with everybody. Okay, so you should be seeing that. Looks like we're kind of almost tied for thirds with expand, growing existing client accounts being the number one thing. So I'm gonna keep doing polls around this topic. We'll switch it up and we'll kind of figure that out. So let me jump in. So, I kind of jokingly say that this security framework that I'm about to go through is a framework for the rest of us. I think it's important to simplify these things and kind of go through. So, stage one. So, or kind of like maybe 2 seconds just about the framework itself. The idea here is, yes, there's different levels. No, I'm not tying this exactly to CIS or NIST or NIST2 for our European MSPs. The challenge with a lot of those frameworks and what I'm hearing from partners is only some clients value those. So my healthcare clients value HIPAA or healthcare regulations. My financial customers value FTC guidelines or those regulations. But then when we hit kind of everybody else, there really is no framework that they've heard of that they really care about. And even if they do care about it, it's really hard for me to deliver 100% compliance against some monster checklist. And so the idea with this framework is not that it replaces the gold standard for each individual industry. It's kind of the framework for the rest of your clients. And it's something that you have incredibly high levels of confidence that you can deliver and still make money off of. So the idea here is there's 5 levels. And if we just very quickly have a look at it, the goal here is improvements over time. And so you want to have something, because if you're going to be charging your clients recurring dollars, and if someone has a recurring cost, they're going to ask the question 1 month, 3 months, 6 months in, why am I still paying for this thing? And so breaking things up so that continuous value is delivered is very, very important. And if the clients are getting key milestones where things get better and you notify them, it seems like you're always doing something. And again, clients don't know if we fully automate a process and the bots are just doing it in the background. As long as you send them a message or they get a report, then they're happy and they're like, oh, security just bumped up. Cool. I've totally forgot we were doing that part of the project. And so having kind of key milestones doesn't necessarily mean you email them on day 7, day 30, day 90, day 180. But you can if you want to, and you can strategically use these as opportunities to reach out to your clients to say, hey, yeah, we just completed CS level 3 and you're in a much better place right now. And they don't necessarily understand all of the security things that we're doing, but it's just that improvement over time that I think is incredibly important for us to be delivering. So let's take a look, get a little bit specific. Don't worry, we're going to send out the slides, and I have some interesting content at the end that I want to send out to everybody, but I'll give you a sense for kind of, what is the goal of every one of these levels, and more importantly, how much work is it going to be for my team? Because that matters when it comes to any kind of managed service. So if we look at level 1 first, the idea with level 1 is it's just an assessment. So we're basically looking at the current state of the nation. In Augmentt, you have a couple different reports that do that. You have the threat report, you have the security posture, 100-point audit report. So there's a couple of reports that we can generate that will provide a security assessment for the client. Now, this is what I see a lot of MSPs doing in a sales motion. So level 1 is actually not only for paying customers. I kind of view level 1 as the thin edge of the wedge. It's your foot in the door to have a security conversation. Then when somebody purchases, the promise is to take them to level 2 and 3 and 4 and 5. So you use this as a slip in, get them thinking security, make them aware of problems, and to go to level 2, that's when people are actually purchasing and acquiring a service from you. So everybody gets level 1, and then only paying customers get levels 2 and beyond. If we take a look, if we take a look at level 2 is where we actually start doing some of the work. And the question I get from a lot of MSPs is, how do I track this? How do I keep track of this kind of rollout project for all of my customers? And so I just want to remind everybody that you can customize pretty much everything in the Augmentt platform. So at the end, I'll cover a bit of a playbook that's going to be available. But the idea here is, if you have a list of 100 things that are in the Augmentt security audit today, you can customize that list to match exactly what is in the level 2 requirements. And I'll show you those in just a second. So I can customize the configuration audit. And then second, when I actually go to do the work, we have those awesome one-click baselines. So we can just go bulk apply the settings. So it becomes incredibly easy and incredibly cost-effective for the team to do the work. And I think that's very important today, where customers aren't willing to pay an arm and a leg for this kind of a service. So some MSPs might bundle it with a higher tier of the service. They might do a la carte offerings. But as long as you know that the team can run that report effortlessly to see the audit, and then they can one-click get all of the work done. If it's 10 minutes of technician work, I can price that competitively to go to market, or I can bundle it at my higher tiers of service offering. Okay, so taking a look at what's in level 1, level 2, the key here is, very quickly after you buy this service from me, Mr. Customer, I am going to apply a bunch of great security best practices. The good news for you is none of this is going to be the super strict stuff where it's MFA and your employees are going to struggle to sign in, or it's going to mess up with your email systems and do other things. I'm going to turn on all the smart logging in Microsoft so I can see what's going on in your environment. We can monitor things. I'm going to close some of the doors that you probably don't care about. So guest accounts, not everybody in the organization, or not all guests should have access to the things that they have access to today. It's kind of silly that Microsoft would let your employee invite someone else, and then that someone else can go invite everybody in the world into your organization. So we're just going to close that door a little bit, and we're going to do things like turning off sign-ins to shared mailboxes. Employees will still be able to access those shared mailboxes, but it means people on the outside can't be brute force password attacking to try to get in to our shared mailboxes that most people don't monitor. So it's some good best practices, lets us get in there, do things quick, lock things down with almost no impact, I would say, on the day-to-day operations of any organization. Then we move on to level 3. And level 3 is where we start talking MFA. And I will say that, the timelines here are kind of guidelines. It's what I've talked to a lot of other MSPs about. It's what they're going to market with. If you want to accelerate anything forward, go for it. If you want to move stages around, and MFA is the first thing, go for it. I just like this kind of staircase approach over time. So it's week 1, we did some best practices. Within the first 30 days, we'll get you fully compliant when it comes to MFA. And sometimes that takes a bit of a rollout project where we're doing, 5 accounts here, 5 accounts there. Some organizations were able to blast out a memo to everybody saying, hey, everybody's getting MFA, you better register within a couple days. So that's kind of varies client to client. But we know that in the next year, less than a year now, Microsoft is deprecating the legacy MFA, where you go into Entra ID and you do it one at a time per person. So they're forcing everybody over to security defaults or conditional access policies. And so as part of this conversation with a client, or if you're sitting down for a 2025 planning session with any of your clients and you know that they're on that legacy MFA, just let them know that that's a project that you're going to be implementing to either move them onto brand new policies and brand new MFA when they're not registered, or if they're on a legacy version where it's enforced via per user, just let them know you're going to do that migration in the backend so that they don't experience any problems. And again, they don't know what you're doing behind the scenes, but it's good to communicate what we're doing so they know that we are delivering some value all the time. So level 3 is all about MFA, and the Augmentt platform will let you configure it any way you want, and we will do the legacy per user as long as Microsoft lets us support it. And then some of the new conditional access policy management functionality is going to make it easier than ever to just blast out all of those policies that will replace some of this legacy stuff that's going end of life. Yeah, we've talked about this on a couple webinars, so if you've been on the last 2-3 webinars, I've said this, just in case you've missed it, the new Policy Manager, I think it addresses a lot of the challenges that we saw in the Microsoft portal. So generally, things would rely on the most senior technician, and it would take that technician a long time to get the job done, because essentially I have to go into one portal, and for every single policy, I have to go through the entire wizard, then do it for the next policy, then do it for the next policy, then I move on to client number 2. And so it's very time consuming just to get the work done. There's this constant fear of if I click the wrong button or do the wrong setting, if I have to create 3 policies for 10 customers, that's 30 manual workflows. And at any point, a mistake could mean that a couple people get locked out or a group of users. And rolling that out to customers is just a bit of a nightmare. So I think the new Policy Manager addresses pretty much all of those concerns, where I create a policy once, and then it's easy to clone it and replicate it everywhere. And I don't have to worry about the 15 manual settings that I did. I'm now just picking the people. And so it focuses all your energy on the most important thing. So the likelihood of making a mistake is just far less, because there's only one thing to do. Okay, jumping on to CS level 4, the idea here is every baseline, every level of the security includes everything from before, and we'll take some things and we'll make them stricter, and then we'll add some brand new things. So a couple ones I'll highlight here is that guest access. So who in the organization is allowed to invite external guests. Before we said we were going to restrict it so guests won't be allowed to invite other guests. Now we'll make that more stricter, and we'll say no employees are allowed to invite guests unless we give them the guest invite permission. And so we're kind of following the philosophy of least privilege access, zero trust. And so the idea is, if all employees have access to all things, then anybody getting breached means everything gets breached. And if we're restricting what employees can do bit by bit over time, then a future breach means, oh, that low level, level 1 type of employee got breached. Only some very, a minuscule attack area was exposed. So it really contains a breach and prevents the bad guys from doing as much damage as they could have if everything was kind of open doors and everything. This one's kind of funny for me. So we wait until level 4, 90 days in, to turn on the Exchange external sender tag that says this email came from outside the organization. Originally, I had that at an earlier level, and a lot of partners were saying, no, you don't know my users. If I turn that on, they'll think they've been hacked, and I'm just going to get 1,000 support tickets. So having this kind of program, having that kind of a setting at day 90 rather than day 1, lets us educate our customers. And so you can tell your clients, this is level 1, this is level 2. MFA is done. We're just going to let MFA soak for a little bit. We're going to come back to you with some recommendations in the coming days. And you can do a little bit of education leading up to these things that tend to confuse users and just create an annoying amount of tickets for you. So that's level 4. When we get to level 5, this is kind of question mark. And some MSPs are perfectly comfortable getting to level 4 and then leaving things for a good long while. There's a lot of other MSPs I deal with that have very large customers, or like I was saying earlier, there's industry compliance or other things that matter. Well, that's where we have the 100-point assessment. And so sometimes the client's going to be coming to you and saying, I need to be CIS compliant, or I need to know that my email or this particular aspect is completely shut down and really hardened in the environment. So again, that 100-point list can be 100% customized on a client per client basis. That means you don't have to go into IT Glue or whatever documentation portal you're using and document exactly what every client needs. You just do it in Augmentt. You tailor the list to exactly the goal or the outcome you're trying to achieve. And then basically the team has their project management checklist where it's like everything that is yellow or red in this environment is what I need to go work on. And so piece by piece, we can kind of go hard in that. But in general, what I like about the approach is value over time. Things are continuously getting better, and it's only for the most discerning of clients, or the people who care about security the most, that we will go to step 5 and do some of the harder, the more complicated security configuration. That's just a little bit, takes a little bit of extra time. So those people should be paying more. Everybody else, we can do a fairly streamlined, kind of one-click apply, roll out a policy, and we're pretty profitable with that service. So I have a couple slides on this upcoming security bootcamp, and I hope today's content was valuable, but this is really session 1 out of 3 sessions. And this has kind of been something I've been working on for a while, just based on the questions that lots and lots of MSPs have been asking me. And so when we look at this kind of security bootcamp overview, session 1, what we kind of covered today, the focus here is, what is the framework? So what exact thing do I do for my customers? When do I do it? How much effort is it going to be? And I'm more than happy for everyone on the call to take the recording of this webinar, take the slides, and just make this your own. Like, go ahead and just take all of the content. It's free to you. So that's the blueprint itself. The next step is, how do we operationalize this for our clients? And that it's a tricky question, because at the beginning of the call, we saw that 30% of people care about landing new clients, 40%, the most important thing is expanding existing clients. And then for another 30%, it was, I just need to do this to retain existing client business and deliver some value to them. So whoever you define as your top goal, those clients, let's go identify 5 new land clients, or let's go identify 5 existing clients that are ripe for expansion, or identify 5 clients we're concerned about and we want to definitely retain those accounts. So session 2 is more of a technical kind of working group. And so if you're more on the business owner side and you want to send one of your technicians to session 2, that would be great, because then we will walk them through the integration, making sure everything's set up properly, and making sure that they have in hand those 5 reports, so you can go then accomplish your land, expand, or retention goal. And that brings me to session 3. So the idea with session 3 is, now I actually have to go have a client meeting. If I'm trying to land a new client, well, then I actually have to get them to do the integration. I don't have access to their Microsoft environment. So we have a whole process there for sending them a link. They do the approval. Now we're integrated. Now we can get the 5 audit reports. If we're expanding existing clients, we do have access to their Microsoft environment. It's very easy to go run those 5 reports. But then how do we communicate the value of those reports to them and get them onto a paying program so we can take them through levels 2 through 5? And if it's a existing customer and we're worried about keeping the client happy and keeping that revenue, then we're just going to go do all of the work, and we're going to start showing up on day 7, day 30, day 90, day 180 with, your security just got better, your security just got better. And at no point can they say we weren't on the ball and we weren't monitoring things, because we were. We were constantly doing things and hardening the environment. And I always say to MSPs that I used to work in the compliance industry. And in the compliance industry, when it comes to insurance and lawsuits and all of these things, what people are looking for is negligence. So if you technically are sitting in the seat where you're responsible for X, and there's no evidence that you ever did anything in that area, well, then you lose 100% of the battles. But if there's this evidence that you're working on it, you're checking it, you're improving it, then you've shown this kind of due diligence that it's like, I was halfway through my security hardening program, so there's zero evidence that I did nothing. And I am not a lawyer. I can't guarantee that we'll avoid bad outcomes, but generally that's what people are looking for. And they're trying to prove that this person who owned that responsibility wasn't actually doing anything about the problem. So let's shift all the blame onto that party in this kind of three-way battle. And if you're the one who says, nope, here's this report I sent on this date, here's this report I sent on this date, here's this confirmation of this, then usually they move on to the next target and they're like, okay, well, you did a good job, but now we're going to go after this person. And so I like having a framework that at least has snapshots of evidence that we did things. Included in that would be all of the email templates you need. So that's the sales email templates, the talking to an existing client, how do we upsell them template, and then proving to an existing client that we're doing a great job, and we have all this great evidence for the work we've done. So all the email templates, all the processes and the procedures. And so I'll kind of close the webinar, and I do see some questions, and I'm happy to stick around and answer as many questions as there are, but I'll let everybody go if you need to take off in 2 minutes. I'm looking for 5 MSPs that want to be walked through that session 2 and that session 3. So we already have your email address for registering for the webinar, so you can just chat to me on the webinar and I can download that report after the webinar, but it's first come, first serve. And we just want to walk 5 MSPs through that program to give you the integration work that gets you the 5 reports. So then we can do session 3 and go through the sales motion and actually start selling or showing customers our current value. And as a bonus, I'm going to be giving everybody my entire blueprint. So all of the slides you just saw today, and I've written up process documentation with the team for everything. So top to bottom, you can build a program with all of this information. So let me, I'm going to jump into the Q&A. Let me just pull that up. Go ahead and ask any questions, but let me just, give me 2 seconds to just read through. Okay, Peter, maybe I'm going to ask you to rephrase that question, but I think, so Peter was just asking if this is going to be a paid service, etc. But so I see this kind of 2 ways. I think there is MSPs who have the time and the in-house people and skills to accomplish all of this. And so Augmentt is a software company first, and the goal is to provide you technology so that your team can go accomplish all of these goals. Now I want to provide all of that process documentation and go-to-market strategy for everybody so you can be successful with the platform. And then we definitely do have client MSPs that are just, hey, Augmentt, I don't have the people, the time, or the interest in building out a full program like this, but I could sell it. And if I could go sell something and you deliver it, that'd be great. So we do have a managed offering where we do the work of every step of the way there. You're still in the driver's seat as far as managing your client relationship, but we're now doing the work, sending you the report. And so that does exist. I don't know if that answered the question, Peter. Cool, Danny, I see that. I see a bunch of people putting their hands up. I think got my 4. Yeah, I think I got 1 more slot left if someone wanted to join. I'm going to be messaging some people on our technical advisory board as well. Oh, good question, Brian. So for this initial bootcamp, no, you don't have to have paid Augmentt licenses. There's a report. Essentially, you could start a 14-day trial with us, and so the trial environment would still let you connect to those client environments or to go out and do sales prospecting. So you don't have to be a paying client to get access to this. This is open to all MSPs, and essentially, if this would give you a good taste of the Augmentt platform and some of the reports you could generate, then you could go out and try to close some business with your customers. Or if you're on the retention side, you could go show some existing customers some love. Okay, that's it for questions that I see. I'm going to stick around for another 30 seconds, but thanks so much, everybody. You're going to see more of this kind of go-to-market enablement content. It's a big passion of mine to not just build, I hope, a product that you love and helps you secure Microsoft, but also the go-to-market strategy. So how do I use this product to skyrocket on profits, sales, and kind of make the business stronger? So thanks everybody. If you need to drop off, drop off. I'm going to hang out for 10 more seconds. Just sometimes a question pops up last minute, but I appreciate the time and have a good one.